Get that mop out of here before you scratch the floor. The voice echoed through the sterile white hall of the Research Institute. Heads turned. Laughter followed. He stood there, silent, a worn-out janitor in faded overalls, clutching his bucket-like armor. To them, he was invisible, disposable. The scientists passed by with smug smiles, talking about equations and experiments worth millions. None of them noticed the quiet man sweeping near the chalkboard, his eyes tracing the symbols, faster, sharper, deeper than any of theirs. They mocked his silence, unaware of the storm behind those calm eyes. But what they didn't know was that in less than 7 minutes, the man they all ignored would solve a mystery that had baffled the world's brightest minds for decades. Have you ever been underestimated by someone who had no idea who you really were? Tell us in the comments. Before we begin, hit subscribe. It's appreciated. For years, Michael Torres had worked the night shift at the prestigious Ravenwood Institute, a place where the air smelled like bleach and brilliance filled every hallway. He wasn't a scientist. He wasn't even a graduate, just a janitor with a calm face and a quiet routine. Every night when the lights dimmed and the white coats went home, he swept the same polished floors, emptied the same bins, and listened to the same faint hum of machines that changed the world. But Michael's mind worked differently. Numbers danced in his head like music notes. Patterns appeared where others saw chaos. He had never gone to college, not because he couldn't, but because life never gave him the chance. His mother's illness, bills, and the color of his skin had built walls that education never broke down. Still, in the solitude of his janitor's closet, he found peace in equations scribbled on old napkins and discarded printouts from the labs. He had a secret ritual. After mopping, he'd linger near the chalkboards, tracing his eyes along unsolved equations that covered them like white tattoos. He didn't need to touch them to understand. The symbols whispered stories to him. Stories of energy, space, and infinity. One night, as the rain drummed against the windows and thunder rolled outside, Michael noticed something new, a formula half erased on a blackboard. The scientists had been arguing about it all week. Unsolvable, one had called it. He leaned closer, heart pounding. There was something familiar about it, a rhythm, a mistake hidden in plain sight. He hesitated. He was just the janitor, the man they ignored. But something inside him refused to walk away. If you were in his place, would you risk everything to prove them wrong? Tell us in the comments. The storm outside grew louder, but inside the institute, everything was still. The only sound was the squeak of Michael's mop against the floor and the faint crackle of fluorescent lights. His eyes stayed locked on the chalkboard, the unfinished equation glowing faintly under the lab lights. It was supposed to be a model predicting energy stability in quantum systems, something even the best minds had struggled with for years. To Michael, though, it wasn't just symbols. It was a song missing its final note. He took a deep breath, glanced around, and reached for a piece of chalk. His hands trembled, not because he was unsure, but because he knew exactly what would happen if anyone caught him. He wasn't allowed near the research equipment, let alone the formulas worth millions in funding, but he couldn't walk away. Not tonight. Stroke by stroke, he filled in the missing variables, rearranged the constants, and corrected a sign error so small it looked like a smudge. Hours passed unnoticed. Outside, the rain turned to silence. When he finally stepped back, his chest tightened. The equation was whole, balanced, perfect. The next morning, chaos erupted. Scientists flooded the lab, whispering, staring at the board like it was haunted. "Who did this?" one demanded. Another gasped. "It works! It actually works!" Michael stood in the hallway, pushing his cart like any other day. He watched through the glass as the researchers gathered around his work, now being photographed and sent to universities across the world. He didn't say a word. He couldn't. No one would believe him anyway. By noon, rumors spread. A mysterious mind had solved the problem overnight. Professors, journalists, even government officials arrived. The director of the institute called it a breakthrough that would redefine theoretical physics. But when he asked who was responsible, no one had an answer. That evening, Michael returned to the same board, pretending to mop. The chalk lines glowed under the dim light. He smiled faintly, not out of pride but peace. He'd done what no one else could. Yet, before he could leave, a voice echoed from behind. "Hey, you there! What are you doing in here?" It was Dr. Reynolds, the senior physicist known for his arrogance and disdain for anyone he saw as beneath him. He stepped closer, eyes narrowing. "You think you can just walk in here and touch that?" "You'll be fired for this!" Michael froze. His throat went dry. His secret had been discovered. The scientist ripped a sheet off the board and stormed out, muttering something about security footage. Michael knew this wasn't going to end with praise. Within hours, he was summoned to the director's office. Accusations flew: trespassing, defacement, even sabotage. They laughed at the idea that a janitor could have done what hundreds of experts couldn't. But as they dismissed him, something unexpected happened. A group of visiting researchers from MIT arrived, holding printed data from the equation. "Whoever did this," one of them said, "just solved the quantum energy gap." The room fell silent. All eyes turned to Michael. The same man they'd mocked now stood in the center of their disbelief, and the look on Dr. Reynolds' face said it all. Fear. What do you think will happen next? Will they honor him or bury the truth to protect their pride? Tell us in the comments. The silence in the director's office was deafening. Papers fluttered, a pen rolled off the desk, and the sound of rain outside returned like a low drum beat. Michael stood alone before them, no degree, no title, no defense, just the truth burning quietly in his eyes. Dr. Reynolds' face was pale. This can't be real," he muttered. "He's lying." But the MIT researchers ignored him. One of them held up the data sheets, their voices trembling with excitement. "It's flawless. The projections match. Whoever derived this formula understood the quantum relationship at a level we've never seen before." Michael didn't speak. He didn't need to. His silence said everything. Then came the question that froze the room. "Who's responsible for this?" Reynolds' jaw tightened. He looked at Michael, then forced a smile. "It was a team effort," he said. "My team worked late into the night." Michael's heart sank. There it was, the theft of his brilliance in real time. He'd done the impossible, and now they were erasing him to protect their egos, their grants, their image. The director nodded slowly. "Impressive work, Dr. Reynolds." Applause followed. Cameras flashed. Michael stepped back, his reflection flickering in the polished floor. The same one he'd cleaned for years. But one of the MIT scientists noticed. She looked at him, eyes narrowing, curiosity igniting. "Wait," she said softly. "How did you know the correction term?" "It's not in any of the published models." Reynolds froze. The room went still. All eyes turned again to the janitor with the mop, standing like a shadow behind them. I just cleaned the board," Michael said quietly. "Maybe I smudged something." His voice trembled, but his eyes didn't. The scientist studied him for a long moment. "No," she whispered. "You didn't smudge it." "You solved it." Gasps broke the silence. Reporters began murmuring, cameras turning toward him. Reynolds' face turned red, his composure cracking. "This is ridiculous," he shouted. "You think a janitor has a mind that your arrogance could never measure?" The woman interrupted. The director raised his hands to calm the room, but the damage was done. The truth had slipped free. Michael stood there, the man they'd laughed at, mocked, and dismissed, now seen for what he truly was. A mind beyond their comprehension. What would you do if the world finally saw your worth, but only after trying to destroy you? Tell us what you think might happen next in the comments. When the news broke, the world couldn't believe it. Janitor solves impossible equation. The headline spread like wildfire across every screen, every feed, every publication that had once ignored men like him. For the first time in his life, Michael wasn't invisible. But the recognition didn't come easily. The Institute tried to bury the truth, claiming internal collaboration, yet the MIT researchers refused to stay silent. They had the footage, Michael at the board, chalk in hand, solving the unsolvable. Overnight, everything changed. Reporters camped outside his apartment. Universities sent offers. Scientists who'd never looked him in the eye now called him Professor Torres. But behind all the flashing cameras, Michael felt something deeper. Not pride, but vindication. He hadn't just solved an equation. He had shattered a system built to keep men like him unseen. Michael never let bitterness grow. "Every locked door teaches you keys," he said, inspiring dreamers who faced rejection for their looks or background. His clean energy formula later transformed cities. The janitor's closet he once worked in held a chalkboard of new equations, ready for the next impossible challenge. For Michael, it was about truth and believing in his mind when no one else did. How many geniuses do we overlook because they don't fit the mold? Share your thoughts below.